All right, Steven, it's our last Worth It episode for now. So what better way to conclude our run of episodes than by having some dessert?
Everybody has room for dessert.
For our dessert analysis today, we're going to be actually having entire meals at each restaurant and then trying their desserts, so that we have the proper context to assess these desserts.
Dessert!
Is it worth it? Make it worth it.
Today on Worth It, we're going to be trying 3 desserts at 3 drastically different price points to find out which one is the most worth it at its price.
For our first dessert, we're going to El Cochinito, where we're going to meet pastry chef Emma, as well as chef owner Daniel. Daniel also operates Cafe Tropical, another Cuban spot just down the block, where Emma makes many of the desserts and pastries for both restaurants. We're going to be trying some other Cuban classics at El Cochinito, and then eating, for dessert, the arroz con leche.
I really consider El Cochinito sort of a time capsule. My grandmother started it, very adamant about keeping the recipes the same, sourcing the ingredients, and just making things the way she did. And for her, it was always about how you felt making the food, kind of transcends to like how people feel consuming. She was very big on cooking with love, so that translates to the plate.
How do the two restaurants complement each other?
El Cochinito's always been home-style food, but Tropical kind of allows us to expand and really cover like coffee, desserts, pastries.
All the ingredients we use are raw. Nothing is refined. Everything is fresh.
What are the cornerstone dishes from El Cochinito?
Ropa Vieja is certainly very traditional. It's considered like Cuba's national dish. It's basically a slow-cooked flank steak, traditionally served with rice and black beans.
Your sandwich is award-winning, is that right?
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I mean, the Cuban sandwich has always been part of El Cochinito's history. And it's one of those like Cuban-American things. You wouldn't actually find it in Cuba the way we see it today.
Right. Here's the thing. Cuban sandwich, probably my favorite sandwich. I mean, everything about it. The flavors, the shape. Look at the compression, the layers. So good.
That was actually a perfect bite. You know, the most important part of the sandwich, the bread, the texture, the crispiness, the softness.
Which we saw getting baked this morning. Can you imagine the smell when a whole pallet of these things comes out of the oven? So we also have the Ropa Vieja. Look at that. So the arroz con leche, where does that recipe come from?
That's definitely from my grandma. She doesn't have any recipe book. She knows this is how high you fill the pot, this is how many scoops of sugar. She had relationships with her pots and her pans and the stoves. For me, arroz con leche is like a very home style thing. The way to remake it, it always just feels good, feels right. It just brings you back home. It's nostalgic.
What is arroz con leche and what is that taste that you are describing and looking for?
Well, arroz con leche translates to rice with milk. Think of it as like a rice pudding in a way. I use Carolina rice. It's a single origin, so it's a shorter grain than like a jasmine rice or anything else. I wash it till the water barely starts coming out clear because I want a little bit of the starch. It'll help thicken it up. I cook it until the water is at the line of the rice and starts puffing up just a little bit. And then I add condensed milk, and then I make a sachet of orange peel, cinnamon, and a vanilla bean. And I drop that in there and some sugar. And then you just start stirring it and cooking it until it's done. It's cinnamony, it's light but rich, it's a little sweet.
Is there anything unique, do you think, about having a dessert that's that consistency and flavor as the close to a meal?
I think the simplicity of it, nothing here is very complicated, but it's thoughtful. And arroz con leche is all of that. It's simple, it's not a lot of ingredients, it's nothing really fancy, but taking the time and attention and focusing your passion and love towards creating things into like rice pudding. If you do it right, it speaks volumes.
And is it like a meal closer type of situation here, or?
It's a mic drop.
Definitely not expecting this specific plating.
More of a mugging, in fact.
In a mug, cheers.
Oh, that's good. The consistency is more surprising than I thought it would be.
It's like not liquidy, it's not solid.
No, I thought it would be more puddingy, but it's actually more thick saucy.
I grew up eating a lot of rice, like a lot of rice. Very,
Well, like how much rice?
like a lot of rice.
Okay, gotcha.
And I can't remember the time I ate it as a dessert. what are we doing? The thing that it does have is it's refreshing.
Which is, I think, another important feature of a great dessert. After a meal, do you want to get wrecked by a dessert? Some people like that, but I think a rose con leche is more of like a tapered down dessert.
Absolutely.
All right, Steven, it's time to learn a little bit about desserts.
Dessert fact!
Eating a small piece of cheese after a meal can help neutralize the acidity of the mouth caused by foods like sugary desserts, and therefore help prevent tooth erosion.
Oh, brother.
Wow.
So you're telling me I don't need to brush my teeth anymore?
You just need to eat some cheese. Here's my question though. If you ate a cheesecake though, which, is that better or worse?
Net zero, you know.
Net zero. All right, Steven, for our next dessert, we're going to be seeing Keith and Mel at Alta Adams and trying the pineapple coconut upside down cake.
What?
Tell us what type of restaurant Alta Adams is.
It is a California soul food restaurant. We took traditional dishes that I grew up with, Southern dishes that my grandmother brought from Alabama, and reframed it using California love and local ingredients.
Before we have this dessert though, what are we gonna eat to prepare our stomachs?
So we'll be doing the fried chicken, oxtails, and collard greens today. And the collard greens is something that we do our own way, taking neutral oil and smoking it, infusing the oil with this smoked flavor, whether it's hickory, apple mesquite. Pulling the meat out of the greens, you have these vegan greens that taste as if they have the smoked meat in it.
All right. Whoa. Sometimes you just know it's gonna be good. Cheers, Steven.
Cheers. Oh no. Oh no.
It's good.
How did they make it so perfect?
How about some oxtails, Steven?
I love oxtail, by the way. It is the best.
I'm just gonna pick up a little nugget like that. Look at the softness of the meat here.
That's the secret to these kinds of like stew-like dishes.
Right on the edge of no longer being a solid. Here's the thing, Steven, we need to eat this to be prepared for eating the dessert. It would be irresponsible not to. We need to try some of this collard greens. 'Cause
Vegan
this
greens,
has
baby.
the smoked oil. That is the coolest thing I've ever heard.
I don't think I've heard of this before.
So there's
Oh,
no meat
wow.
in here, but it tastes like I'm eating a bowl of meat. This is some of the best food we've had on Worth It ever. We're drawn to your pineapple coconut upside down cake. Could you tell us about that dish, where it comes from?
It comes from many places, one being the Southern coconut cake. We took the coconut cake sponge and made an upside down pineapple cake with it. Traditionally, you'll take the upside down pineapple cake and you make it in a skillet. You put your sugar down and your pineapple and your cherries and put your cake over the top. And when it cooks over that open flame, for one, that cast iron presents the butter from burning, but it also caramelizes the sugars and gives it this caramel and this nice color on top. Using a cake pan, we're unable to capture that. So we take the sugar and caramelizes it separate.
Meanwhile, I'll usually cut our fresh pineapple into these cubes. In terms of the layering, we've got the caramelized sugar, and then we have the pineapple chunks, and then we place the batter on top.
And then we bake it in the oven. I started off baking it like any other cake, 350 degrees for about 35 minutes. Mel has a whole nother technique where she goes through the science.
I started tinkering around with the temperature because I get very obsessive about these things, and I was just observing every time and seeing how they came out and the texture and the way that they looked. And so it actually was an accident, and there was and there was a temperature difference, and I was like, oh, okay, this works.
When it comes out, you get that nostalgic taste as if it was baked in a cast iron skillet.
What is great about ending a meal with a great dessert?
The most important for me is the first dish and the last dish. The first thing that tastes my mouth dictates what my experience is gonna be the rest of the way. And the last thing that I'm walking out with is what I'm carrying, that memory, right? So desserts are very important to me. If I've had a great meal, I don't even chance it with the dessert.
Oh, really?
I don't.
That's interesting.
Just that touch of the dessert, it can really just take everything, wrap it up together like a trilogy. It's gotta feel finished, and that's how a really good dessert can make you feel.
So So we got our pineapple cakes. We also had to get some buttermilk vanilla ice cream.
Which they make
Yeah.
in-house.
Oh.
It has like the tartness of like lemon in there, but there's no lemon, right?
It's almost like cheesecake ice cream.
It is.
Cheers, Steven.
There it is. Oh man. I mean, I knew I was gonna like it. Oh.
You get sort of the bitter caramel taste like
Yeah.
at the end of the bite.
That's
Ooh,
nice.
I love that.
It is a cake that gives you everything that you've ever wanted in cake in one cake. Like, do you want caramely or do you want like fluffiness of a cake? Do you want a fruit cake?
For my taste, this dessert is the best level of sweetness, which is not too sweet.
I mean, people say like you have a sweet tooth, right? But they should really be saying like, I have a not too sweet tooth.
Not too sweet tooth. Yeah. All right, Steven. Before we go to our final dessert, we're gonna be taking a little bit of a dessert detour. I don't know how familiar you are with this concept of cheese for dessert. Apparently, the French traditionally eat cheese after dinner. To learn more about this, we're gonna be going to a place called Agnes Restaurant and Cheesery, where we're gonna be speaking with Vanessa and learning about the dessert cheeses that they serve there.
Oh man.
Can I ask you about the name Cheesery? Is that a commonly used term for an establishment like this?
It's something of our own invention, as like, you know, when you think of fromagerie, which is the French word for a cheese shop, or a bakery, we wanted to make a play on words so that it's not linked to anything French per
Yeah.
se, because we're not a French restaurant, we're not an Italian restaurant. So we just wanted to make it a cheesery, which is American.
Could you tell us about what is dessert cheese? Because it's honestly something that I've always heard of as a concept, but never really experienced for myself.
Dessert cheese is a misnomer, as people might think that it's a sweet cheese, but it's not. And it actually comes from French origins, where French people don't eat dessert right away after the meal. It's its own course. So after you finish the main course, you have a cheese course, and then you go into dessert. And the idea is that it kind of helps you tail off your meal and go towards dessert, as opposed to being a really savory into really sweet. It kind of brings down the palate a little bit, cleanses it, and gets you ready for the final course. So these are some of the options that we serve for dessert. What I've done here is La Tour, cow goat sheep blend from northern Italy that is bruleed and then served with Pinot cherries, creamy, tangy. You get the tartness of the cherries to help kind of balance it, but you can see where it's like bringing a really savory meal down to a point where if you just had this, you would be okay.
For sure.
Definitely.
It's like a pie.
So now Sagittarius. This one is a cow and sheep blend from Shooting Star Creamery. And then when you add a little bit of jam, pair it with some texture.
Whoa, the jam is good.
Whatever category this falls into, this is like my favorite.
Sweet and salty. Lastly, we have Shropshire blue cheese from England. It has a lovely bright orange color. We're serving it with Ranger's chocolate caramel and then on an Effie's oat cake. So the pungentness of the blue cheese will marry nicely with the sweetness of the caramel chocolate.
Wow, the chocolate is so interesting.
This is crazy.
It's almost like I'm not even tasting the chocolate. I just have like chocolate perfume in my mouth as I'm eating cheese.
Yeah, I am definitely eyeing that one though.
You're gonna eat that whole thing? No
Assist.
cracker?
Wow.
Choose your own adventure.
Okay, wow. Get out of here.
Oh my God.
All right, Steven, before our final dessert, it's time to learn one more thing about dessert.
Dessert! Fat!
The word dessert comes from the French word desservir, meaning to clear the table, as the table's linens were changed before the final course of fruit.
No way, that's so cool. I like that the etymology is not even based on the food, it's based on the surrounding activities.
Right. It's like, what was that food that we ate? Oh, the food that we ate when we changed the sheets? Yes, let's call it that.
Yes.
All right, Steven, for our final dessert, we're going to Spago Beverly Hills, which we've been to before on the
Truffle pizza episode.
Truffle Pizza episode.
Flashback, baby.
And we're gonna be seeing Della and Ari. Ari is gonna be making some of Spago's incredible savory dishes for us. And Della is going to be doing a special set of desserts.
All right, Spago. It's a little bit of a homecoming
Yeah.
for us.
So far we've had desserts that round out a meal, But these desserts are starting you on a new dessert journey at the end of your meal.
So we do offer at Spago a tasting menu. Along with all the other desserts and all the other dishes on the menu, we'll do a special like chef's tasting focused around California seasonal fruits and vegetables. What I'm gonna do today is focus on what's in season, which is apples. I'm gonna do an apple tasting or a study of apples for the last part of the degustation menu or the tasting menu. So Ari is gonna be making the savory portion. One thing I think is pretty unique is how he actually incorporates pastry techniques into his savory dishes as well. So it kind of like brings the whole thing together.
Della and I talk a lot. We talk about like what we're seeing at the market, what's inspiring us. We try not to step in on each other's feet. We really play off each other in that way. So there's harmony in the menu and you're not doubling up. That's part of the creative process and the beauty of our art. The more people you include of it, I think the better the picture becomes.
What are you trying to do with the first dish that you give diners?
I want them to be wowed. To be like, I just sat down for something that's gonna be really good. Be like, We're gonna start with like a piece of our amuse-bouche. It's an English muffin stuffed with Santa Barbara sea urchin and a little zest of yuzu.
Look at this little guy.
I can't wait to eat this. This is crazy. Who starts off their meal with something like this?
It's like Ari said, we need to start with a bang. Cheers,
Oh,
Steven.
I got some yuzu in there. Cheers.
So much flavor. Such a little package.
That was just filthy. Filthy in a good way. I don't know if people
Yeah,
caught
filthy in
that
a good way.
Some of the dishes are inspired by dessert. The next dish will be the caviar mille-feuille. It's layers of caviar with egg yolk jam, lemon custard, and caviar.
A clear inspiration from dessert.
Oh, and now I have to be the one to destroy it.
It's an egg yolk jam. That's what that is.
I really like that.
Oh, I used the word filthy last time. This is like disgusting, man. That's caviar cake.
Thank you.
The next dish is gonna be Hokkaido scallop ceviche with Thai flavors. So cucumbers I just got from the farmer's market, a couple chilies.
I'm gonna take one slice. Oh, I'm gonna do a little dip. Oh,
That is excellent.
what is it with these dishes that makes me want to use the negative word to describe the positive? Because this is nasty.
You're gonna have a charred sunchoke. And to me, a charred sunchoke almost tastes like marshmallows. Crispy on the outside, kind of that burnt flavor, and really creamy on the inside.
Oh, I like that peanut on there.
Certainly marshmallowy.
Having had the discussion about the shape of the menu, I understand now that we're transitioning away from the bright flavors, and this
Right.
is sort of the introduction of heat. Like now we have this charred exterior, which says to me, soon there will be meat.
Aonori pan perdue with sauteed matsutake mushrooms.
A savory French toast. I like this dish a lot.
Is this a savory dish or a dessert? The answer is yes.
And then the last dish I'm gonna prepare for you is Sonoma Liberty Farms duck breast with glaze and a gastrique with smoked parsnips and persimmon.
Oh my gosh, it's so tender. I do have a word for this.
Yeah.
I can't say it. Rhymes with duck. The chili, 1000% flavor, zero
Yeah.
spice.
It's now time, our main focus, which is dessert.
What is it that you're thinking about when you're designing a really good dessert?
I call it the yummy factor, so it's gotta taste really good. And a lot of times people want something familiar, something that's like apple pie-like, or here it would be apple strudel. And so, for example, the Hasselback apple is kind of got the ingredients of an apple strudel, but it's made in a more modern way. So the first course is kind of like a bridge between savory and dessert. I've created a shell of a white chocolate oyster, which is edible, and then underneath is a celery root panna cotta. And then with that, maybe some things that you would find with like an oyster, like a mignonette, but I've made it with caramelized shallots and apple. And then I've incorporated an apple sorbet. It's sweet, but it's got a little taste of savory in it.
So it resembles an oyster, actually.
It does.
But I can eat the whole shell.
You can eat the whole thing.
Whoa.
Finally, a fantasy of mine fulfilled. It's so realistic.
Yeah.
But this is chocolate.
It's all chocolate. And it has like the gnarly texture. Oh, you went in. Look at the texture of this right here. It looks like the texture of oyster.
Yeah. It's so interesting to have shallot in a dessert. It's like 90% of it, I'm like, yes, dessert, dessert, dessert. And then suddenly, it's like, huh, what are you doing here?
For the next course, it is actually a play on something savory, which is the Hasselback potato, but I've made it a Hasselback apple. The apple is very thinly sliced, and I've arranged it in a little bakeable mold, and then I've kind of put caramelized apple juice and apples in it, and we're baking it. And then we're putting toasted cinnamon breadcrumbs on top and some little apple strudel shards, and then it's served with a fromage blanc and apple sorbet.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh, it's good.
You're basically eating an apple pie. This is mad good.
I also really like how there's a good amount of bitterness. One thing people complain about is like, oh man, my dessert is too sweet.
Yeah. But this, I could eat a whole dinner worth of this, you know?
What is it that you're thinking about when you're designing a really good dessert?
Well, balance is the key. Something that's sweet, maybe something that's balanced with a little acidity, a little bit of salt, a little bit of caramel, something that's got a little bit of pull to it so that it tastes interesting. You know, everything that you want to eat on the plate, you want to keep eating it, not just take one bite and be finished. And the last course is based on two things that are coming in season, chestnuts and apple, which is a classic combination. And the apple I'm using is a Pink Lady apple, and I'm making a chestnut souffle. The texture of a souffle should be very light and airy and kind of creamy in the middle. So it's really important that you don't overbake the souffle. We typically will put like a whipped cream on top because I think that cold and the hot souffle really matches well together. And it's served with a white truffle gelato. I've created a white chocolate truffle that looks like a white truffle, and we're gonna shave it over the souffle. So that'll be the last course.
We're sure that's not truffle.
It
Wow.
is not truffle, but the gelato is truffle.
The gelato is truffle.
Shall we?
Yes.
I'm gonna go straight into the souffle.
I'm gonna watch you do it first. Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's so light.
Oh my gosh.
Cheers, Steven.
Cheers. For a moment, I was just like floating.
I don't think I've ever had a souffle like this.
Me neither. This is white truffle. Ice cream. Ice cream?
Oh my God. What? The souffle on its own was unreal. These little bits of shaved white chocolate that resemble truffle,
Yeah.
like the best white chocolate flavor I've ever tasted. And then I come over here to what I think is just gonna be a plain little side dish of ice cream. It's straight up a truffle bomb. This is probably the best truffle thing we've ever eaten on this show. And this is the finale.
Having the souffle with
This
the
is
white
the apple
truffle.
souffle, and this is the white chocolate, and this is white truffle in the ice cream.
You guys are eating and not me, see? That's how you stay skinny.
Yeah.
All right, enjoy.
All right, thank you so much. It's time to pick our dessert worth it winners. Now, of course, every restaurant that we feature on this show is worth it. We're merely picking our favorite experiences from the episode. So we had the arroz con leche from El Cochinito, the pineapple coconut upside down cake from Alta Adams, and we also had the autumn apple degustation at Spago Beverly Hills.
We had a lot of dessert.
This is one of the first times that we've had an episode that was based on complete experiences, not just single dishes. So maybe before we do that, we should decide our favorite savory bite. I'll go first. Cuban sandwich. No question.
Yeah,
Favorite
it's good.
sandwich, probably top 5 foods for me personally.
Wow. Just to mix it up a little bit, I'll say the uni.
The uni English muffin?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Adam, what was your favorite savory bite?
The fried chicken at Alta Adams.
Oh my God, that was super good.
I would love for you to go first. Andrew, which dessert was the most worth it to you?
A lot of delicious foods were consumed. My worth it winner is Chef Della's degustation menu at Spago Beverly Hills. The way that those desserts carried through the rest of that menu and the flavors that were there were so interesting and delightful. I feel like I was being delighted without just being exposed to sweet stuff.
My worth it winner today is gonna have to be that pineapple coconut upside down cake. I'm not like a cake like aficionado. I love cake, but I ate a slice. I'm not like a full cake guy. But
Yeah.
that cake may have converted me to
Yeah.
being a full cake guy.
All right, Adam, who is your worth it winner?
Here's Con Leche, the hint of orange.
And of course, a special shout out to Agnes, the Cheesery.
Oh, hail the cheesery!
I will say, that's the place that I want to go back to soonest. So that has been our Worth It Dessert episode and a wrap on this series of videos. Steven, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, we're sure to do more in the future.
Yeah.
If our audience has any suggestions, we'd love to hear it. Shout out to everyone who makes this show possible.
And yeah.
Cheers to our audience.